Hey, bitch. It's JamiThatsMe here. Welcome back to the channel. We're about to go ahead and talk about WAGs episode 3. Okay, I am taking my time watching this season and I am reviewing each episode. I know a few of you guys were asking that in the comments. But yeah, that is what we're doing. Okay, we're definitely getting into it first over on Patreon and then we'll have the conversation over on YouTube. Okay, so if you're not already subscribed or joined the Patreon, you're welcome to join at any moment. We welcome you and we thank you. Okay, so let us go ahead and talk about episode 3 because episode 3 has a lot of people talking because there was a fight that ended up taking place, and we're going to start with the top of the episode. Actually, we're going to get into a little bit before we actually start the episode, and we'll get into who's right, who's wrong, all of that. All right, so engage down below. Now, MJ, all right, I want to go back and revisit something that MJ said. I believe it could have been in episode 1 when we first learned about Miss MJ. And maybe it was episode 2. I think it was episode 1. But either way, she talks about Kodak, right? You guys know that she is, I guess she's no longer the girlfriend, who knows, to a Kodak Black, but she's definitely the baby mama, for sure, one of many. Now, she opens up and tells us about how she ended up meeting Kodak Black, and my antennas raised the second time that I watched it, all right? Because my husband didn't see it, so we kind of talked about it because he saw like a clip or something online about a fight or whatever, and I was like, you know what, you want to check it out with me? He was like, I guess, you know what I'm saying, like, yeah, cut it on. So we cut it on, and when I rewatched it again, I kind of noticed some things. I wanted to bring that to the forefront. So she says that, I believe she said Kodak Black performed at her high school, and then she went from saying that, he performed at her high school and him being her celebrity crush, and then she said, at some point they followed each other on IG. And then she gets from that point to saying, when I became of age, that's when he DM'd me. Am I the only one? Am I the only one? Can't be, okay? Something in the milk is not clean with that story. I'm a bit sketchy betchy, if you ask me. So he performed at your high school. He's always been your high school crush. Somehow you guys started following each other. How does that work? How does that happen? That you guys he just randomly follows his fan. I feel like you guys may have had some type of connection behind the scenes by way of someone. I don't know if it was her mother or what, because we did see where her mother and her sat down and she talked about, her mom was saying, oh, I went to the BET Awards, yada, yada, yada. So I kind of question, what is her mother's connection to the entertainment industry, specifically the music industry, is what I'm wondering. Which could have, therefore led to some type of connection with Kodak Black and Maranda. Now, I'm not saying anything happened when she was underage, but I just found that to be very interesting because what you're saying is that he started to follow a high schooler. All right. But when you became of age, I guess maybe a year or however long later is when he decided to DM you. Something about that is not clean. And, it's not the first time that we've kind of heard conversations around Kodak Black and his alleged dealings with younger people, is what I'll say. Okay. So I thought that was a really, really interesting, and it made me want to know a little bit more, Miss Maranda. All right. It's just a whole mess over there. But I just brought that up because I made a note today and I was like, I wonder if anybody else caught what it is that I caught when I was watching the show. Okay. Now let us go ahead and move on, because as we speak on Maranda, also known as MJ, and I'm going to call her Maranda sometimes because I just love that name. That's my best friend's name. And I just think it's so pretty. You know what I'm saying? Actually, that's my cousin's name, but hers has an A versus an I. I'm sorry, has an I versus an A, but we don't call her by, her first name. But either way, I just think it's a very pretty name. But anywho, so Maranda is with Stoney. They're riding in the car and she lets her know about the brunch, the Mother's Day brunch that she went to, where she referred to Sharelle as being this mean girl, because that is some of the energy that Sharelle has been giving us, and it has been a bit disappointing to see. Now, I understand that, television, they gotta hype it up. They gotta give us stuff for us to watch and, create storylines and stuff. So I do believe that there is a good part of Sharelle that does exist. However, When it comes to Stormy, I do feel the energy is definitely unwarranted in my personal opinion. And I actually got a chance to check out her Humble Baddies podcast with Alexis and Ashley. I took not much notes, but I did take a tad bit based on where we are in this particular episode, and we'll talk about that at the very end. Okay, we'll touch on some things because I already told you guys earlier on when they were beefing, or shall I say Sharelle beefing with Stony. The thing for me was that the real reason Sharelle was upset was because Stony was around there trying to inquire about her, right? It hadn't really, that's what I said in the beginning, that it didn't have much to do with the whole situation of she won all of this money in the lawsuit and she fumbled her bag. That doesn't even make sense, right? It has to be something like more to it. But anywho, we'll touch on that a little later. But getting back to MJ and Stony, right? MJ says that she told Stony about calling Sharelle a mean girl. Okay, mean girl. And Stony says that, you need to have a conversation with your girl. I need you to talk to your girl because I'm a little bit confused. Okay, I'm still oblivious to the fact of why she doesn't like me, what I've done to her. Like, I don't know what's going on. Okay. We also learned that Stony and I guess MJ may have met by way of Stony's child. It seems like she's friends with one of Stony's kids, and that's how they cross paths, I suppose. And they're A-okay. So MJ says whatever they have going on, she doesn't want to be in the middle of it. Well, MJ, baby, I'm going to tell you like this, honey. You can't be in the middle of their stuff unless you put yourself in the middle. In my personal, okay? But y'all let me know. Let me know what you think, because some people may feel like, well, her calling Sharelle a mean girl and Sharelle knowing that she's friends with Stony, maybe Sharelle could pull her into it because she knows why she's referring to her as a mean girl, right? But again, I just feel like you don't have to be in the middle of their situation unless you force your way into it. You don't have to be. But anywho, MJ says Sharelle doesn't need to pick and choose, and she needs to stand on who she has an issue with. Okay, she says that she feels like Stony and Julz are pretty much in the same boat as far as allegations, narratives, and different stories being put out there about them. And you would think that Sharelle will have the same energy with both ladies, but instead she's choosing to give a pass to another one that has in the past disrespected the Black community. I definitely agree. I think that if that's how you're going to be, let's be fair across the entire board. All right. But now we know the reason she's really giving Julz a chance is because Julz wasn't trying to sniff out and find out any information about her. Okay. So that's pretty much the reason. The fact that MJ is the one to say this about Sharelle and how she needs to stand on business and be fair across the board and stuff like that, it's like, we often can see on other people what they need to fix, and we don't often see it on ourselves. Okay, because it's like, MJ girl, I'm a bit surprised that it's you're the one out here making sense to me. And it's the fact that you could not use the common sense that you were given to know not to put yourself in a situation to get you locked up, crashing out over this young man. Make it make sense, my love. Okay, but we do appreciate you because you're not wrong necessarily in that particular situation, I have to say. Now, Stony says that she feels like Sharelle wants to be the only boss in the circle. I don't agree with that. Not necessarily true. Okay. I don't think that Sharelle wants to be the only boss in the circle, but I do think that she just doesn't fuck with you. Okay. All right. She just doesn't rock with you. I don't think being a boss has much to do with it, but okay. Now let's get to Alexis and Ashley, because Ashley says that she and Phil are actually thinking about leaving the U.S. and living in a whole nother country for at least 6 months. And of course, Alexis she's in full support of this because she's like, we ended up moving ourselves and our kids out to Jerusalem, and it was a great humbling experience for them. She says that she thinks that it would be a great experience for the kids as well. And I think that's pretty dope. I think if you have the means and the capabilities to want to leave the country and live somewhere else for 6 months, I think that's awesome, especially if you can give that to your kids so they can see life outside and beyond that. And it seems like Ashley may be homeschooling her kids. I'm not necessarily sure, but I think that's what she may have mentioned. So even more of a reason, like, I mean, you can really like go off and kind of do a bit more of what you want to do, and you guys have the means to do it. So I support it. I say do it, honey. Do it, do it, do it for sure. So Ashley talks about dating, right? She asked Alexis about dating and stuff, and Alexis just feels like, things are so different, for me being, over 40 and I'm newly divorced, it's just so different because guys really feel like they are the ultimate prize and how you have to run behind them and chase them. And she's like, hello, I'm the flower in this garden. The bees need to flock to me and not the other way around. All right. I'm not on that type of energy. I'm not going to be chasing you guys. And I don't think that Alexis should have to chase anybody. And I know that she may want that companion just a little bit, but I honestly feel like I think Alexis should just have a good old grand time. I don't think she should be worried about being booed up with anybody. If it happens to go in that direction, then we kind of fell into it. But honestly, I wasn't looking for anybody. Maybe a consistent hunch on buddy type thing. But she was with Amari Stoudemire for years, okay? It's also been rumored that during their time of being together, he left her at some point, went to Sierra or whatnot. They've had a lot of ups and downs in their relationship, okay? I believe they were married, they said, from 2012 to 2021. So she is newly divorced. I think by the time they filmed this, she was probably, 2-3 years out of her marriage, So hey girl, listen, I say have fun, take your time, you got those 4 kids and things like that. And I think that's a good place to be in, where you're not really pressed to connect yourself with any type of guy, because it allows you to really see what they're talking about. And then you also have your boundaries in check. You have your priorities in check, and you know what you will and will not deal with. And a lot of times when you have those things in place, a lot of men are going to cancel themselves out anyway. And it's not no never mind to you because you don't really want your peace to interrupted to begin with. So I love that for her. She did say that if somebody can speak her love language, that's epic for her. But I feel like, girl, they can speak your love language and still be out there lying to you, okay? But again, with Ashley being at a place where she doesn't need a man, she may want one but doesn't need one, it allows her to just really enjoy herself, her kids, her peace, her calmness, her space, and really see what people are talking about to see whether or not they're worth coming into what she got going on. Okay. So I love that for Ashley in the space that she's in. And not Ashley, but Alexis. If I'm saying Ashley is married to Phil and they have 2 children, but I'm speaking on Alexis Stoudemire. Okay. But Ashley decided that, hey, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. So some guy by the name of Jonathan, who's a former NFL player, decides to come waltzing in. And it was funny because Ashley tried to say, oh, she wanted to try and play it off like shocked. I'm surprised you here, knowing the whole time she was really trying to set Alexis up. And I was here for it. He looked like he was a handsome man. Okay. I like the fact that Ashley did not go too far. Really, Ashley was sitting right up on Alexis. And they all just had a conversation. And I don't know if that made Alexis feel comfortable or not comfortable to have Ashley so close as she got to know this guy, Jonathan, right? So I did like that scene. I liked it. I thought that he was handsome. She's cute. So I'm like, okay, let's see how this is going. Okay. Of course, they talk about kids. Alexis has 4. He doesn't have any, but he does want kids. And he says he wants about 4. She has the magic number that he wants. So for me, I was like, is that like a deal breaker or anything? Because she's already had the 4 kids. A lot of times when guys see a woman having that many kids, sometimes, okay, they may feel like she would not want any more kids, right? She might not. And then being that she has all of these 4 kids by this one man that she was previously married to, they may think, hey, maybe she doesn't want to ever be married again, and maybe she doesn't want any more kids, right? So I was just wondering, like, was that a deal breaker? What was in his head? But it seems like they're still in contact, and it seems like, things are... He's still open, because before everything was over, he asked for another date with Lexi. And I like that. I like that she opened up and talked more about herself and the cannabis line and the company she's working with and what she's building. And what I really liked for me, okay, was the fact that he kind of started to talk about the history of cannabis. And for a person that, like Alexis, that's really thrown herself into that world, to be able to talk about more than just smoking it and how it makes you feel, but really want to go in depth about like the history and all of that. I think that really impressed her. I do. I think that impressed her just a bit. Now, I'm sure he has a long way to go with more impressions that he got to make upon her. But I think just in that moment, it was enough for her to want to be like, okay, let us have more of a conversation. Let me see what else you got going on. What else you trying to talk about? Like, what else? Okay. So good for her. And as I'm continuing to watch the season, I'm hoping that we see another date happen between the two and see how this thing is really going. All right. Now, let's get to Stony, who ends up meeting up with Julz. All right. So they go out to eat. The fact that Julz sat down with Stony and immediately says to her how she think this night is going to go. Like, girl, how you think this night gonna go? Because if it's gonna be anything about BS, girl, I don't have time for it. And that's crazy because that's the first thing that Julz said when she sat down. She didn't know how the night was gonna go. And unfortunately, it was you that got into some stuff, okay? You wasn't there for the BS. But it happens, okay? We're going to get into more. Now, while Stony and Julz are there chatting, they see Ashley and Phil walk in. And then shortly after that, I believe that Lexi may have come in or something. So Julz and Stony go over there to speak. And they're chit-chatting. And let me tell y'all something. I think Lexi has really taken a liking to Miss Stony. I think she really likes her. Like, she's like, that, I don't know. The energy was given. That's my girl right there. Like, what's up? Like, sit Stony next to me. Like, we need to get into some things. That's my girl. So, okay. I mean, at least somebody can see the other side. At least somebody can, sympathize, get to know, show compassion, a bit of grace, be open to getting to know someone else. So I'm here for it, and I can appreciate it for sure from her. Now, shortly after that, we see Sharelle and Ocho walk in, followed by Porsha and Andre. So at that point, you're starting to see like, okay, so this is like a couple's date. So maybe the two groups were, having two different type of situations. You had the couples here, and then the other ladies were supposed to link up at the same location, same time, different tables or whatever. Okay. So let's see. What's interesting is Porsha and Andre. I just want to talk about them for a hot second because when it comes to Miss Porsha, I don't think that she and old boy are together anymore. I don't think that Porsha and Andre are together anymore. And I'm actually going to pull it up to show you guys because I was wondering whether or not Miss Porsha ended up having the baby or when did she have the baby? What did she have and everything? And so when I went over to Miss Porsha's page, which is what we're about to do now, I noticed something with them. And let's slide over here. For that, what I noticed was cute kids, right? Cute kids. I saw this picture and I was like, oh, look at the baby. Look at the baby. Look at the kitties. Look at the beauties. And I noticed that she was not wearing her ring. And I was like, what? She's not wearing her ring? And the more I just went through her profile and stuff, I didn't necessarily see her husband on her page or anything until I think it was like further down. So I do question whether they are still together. I hope that they are, but I don't think that they are. She's just not wearing her ring anymore. I don't really fault her. I will say this though. If they are not together, I'm not fully surprised considering the fact that it seems to be an issue within their marriage that he does not wear his ring and he likes to use the excuse of, what was the excuse that he used? Oh, I'm a professional boxer, so I can't really wear my ring like that. And she's like, oh, we need to get you a rubber one. And I'm like, y'all should have had that sorted out a long time ago when you guys got married. Okay. So I'm sure they're dealing with some issues over there just a tad bit. Cause I was like, why isn't he in the family photo or whatever? But that's what's going on. And should they get a season 2, I'm sure we'll learn more about that. Or maybe I'll learn more about it as I'm continuing to watch this season. Who knows? Okay. But just wanted to highlight that. Very unfortunate. Now let's get to the ladies because everybody's sitting around the table with their men and stuff. And Julz is over there. And of course, she doesn't have her man at this time. Meanwhile, I believe Stony and Lexi are over at the bar, right? So when all of the ladies are sitting around, of course, they're talking about Porsha, who just announced that she's pregnant. And Sharelle decided to ask the ladies if they wanted more. Of course, Ashley is like, I am good and satisfied with the 2 boys that I have. She looks at Julz and she asks her, do you want more? And Julz just kind of gave her a look and just says, Yeah, if that's what God wants for me. But the way that she responded to her definitely made me question, like, why are you talking like what's up with you? Like, why are you talking to her like that? Like, what's the problem? Like, why are you sounding like that? As the episode goes on, we learn why she responded the way that she did with Sharelle. Okay. But let's hop over here to the bar, because we're over here at the bar. And of course, we have new people that are joining us at this time. Stony introduces her best friend, from my understanding. I think her bestie's name is Erica. She introduced her to Lexi, MJ. It's interesting because Stony introduced the ladies to her best friend, Erica. But when they all went to go sit at the table, it was another one of her best friends, and it was a guy, and I can't think of his name at the time, but he was at the table. The other bestie was not. All right. However, when Stony gets to Kenea, is what I think her name is, she gets to Kenea, and I'm thinking originally when I watched it the first time, I was thinking that Kenea was with Stony. No, she wasn't. The Stony turned around and asked Kenea, and who are you friends with? Okay. Now, Kenea ended up hugging MJ because I guess they're somewhat familiar with each other, because they both are realtors for Allure Realty. All right. So they both work for Sharelle in a sense. Right. So she's introducing her friends to everybody or whatever. We never really heard who Kenea said that she was connected to, but I just put two and two together because of what we know about MJ. All right. So they get to the table. Oh, no, before they get to the table, somebody asked about Sadé. Now, you guys know that Sadé snapped off on Charelle and somewhat of Ashley too, okay, because she didn't like what was being put out there about the whole hard knocks and the sweet and everything, right? So Lexi says, I don't know if Miss Girl gonna make it, okay, because it just was not that great of a night for her the other day. She kind of got into it with Sharelle, so I don't really think she's fucking with us right now. And MJ was like, yeah, I call Sharelle a mean girl, and then Sadé repeated it, and I'm like, no, it was the other way around, my love, okay? Sadé been clocked them as mean girls. You came in and you validated that, and whatever, it's not a big deal. So Stony feels like Sharelle is the common denominator amongst everybody, right? And MJ says, not me. Well, of course, Lexi says, not me. And then MJ says, not me. She's a nominator for me. So everybody bust out laughing, because it's like, girl, what? A nominator? So basically you're a minion. Hollering. Thought that was too funny, okay? So Kenea says that Sharelle is a big common denominator. So I'm like, okay, wait. Are you saying that she's a big common denominator because she brought all of you guys together, right? Primarily for this show, potentially? Or are you saying she's a big common denominator because, maybe you work with her or something? Or are you saying that because you feel like she's a bit much? Now, I don't know, but what I will say is Kenea no longer works for Allure Realty. She's with a completely different firm. And my question, or realty company or whatever. And my question is, did you leave on your own? Were you kicked out? Will we see any of that on the show? Or were you just a one-show wonder? Will we see you pop in, get into it, and then hop out? I'm not sure what that's about, but she is not affiliated with the show, from my understanding, and she's not affiliated with Allure. All right. So there's that. And as far as affiliated, like, I don't think I've seen her do any promotions for it, even though she does list let's see, Netflix in her bio. She says as seen on Netflix, and I'm kind of like, ma'am, are you sure you want to say as seen on Netflix when it's connected to you actually throwing hands in a restaurant? Okay. Whatever you want to do. All right. Maybe you're on another realty show or something over on Netflix. Anywho, so let's keep going. Now, the ladies head to the table. All right. And as they're heading to the table, the other ladies send their guys away. All right. They're headed out. They're gone. All right. So Stony, MJ, and Kenea are all sitting at the table with Stony's best guy friend. And right out the gate, all right, she immediately says, this white bitch. And this is Kenea talking about Julz. She immediately says, this white bitch. We got to talk about her, because I'm hearing that she has some things to say about black women, and she's a culture vulture, right? So she's going off of the things that she has seen online. Completely understand. When I read some of the things that I seen about, Julz online, I definitely was taken aback, even though I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. I saw some stuff, and I was like disappointed. Like, whoa, not you over here profiting off the people, honey. And then you want to sit up there and SHI on the black girls? Like, that's not cool. Especially knowing that you have a lot of black friends. Now, I don't know if she had black friends at the time when those statements were made, or if she's gotten those friends over the years or something. I wouldn't be surprised if she had them then. Now, granted, she could have potentially learned something from this, okay? She could have learned something from this, possibly, and wanted to do better with her life. Not necessarily sure. Oh, as I'm over here, I'm looking at Kenea's page, and I see that, I guess, Humble Baddies had an event, and it looks like she was at that event. So I would want to believe that she and Sharelle don't have an issue. Okay, maybe they don't have an issue, and maybe things just didn't work out when they were over at Allure Realty or something. You know, who knows, okay? Anywho, Stormy does say that despite what everybody else had to say about Julz, she says she's cool with Julz, okay? She hasn't, done anything to her, hasn't acted racist, didn't come off as a culture vulture or anything with her. So I know what's out there, but I also know what it's like for people to judge me based on what's out there. So I'm willing to give her a chance. And from the chance that I've given her, she hasn't really done anything to me. So I don't see anything wrong with her, right? I have no issues with what Miss Stormy is saying. Okay, so MJ is ready to move the conversation along. Like, girl, can we not talk about this? Can we get into some other things? And Kenea's like, no, if we don't talk about it, we need to talk about it now. Okay, we need to have this conversation now. And MJ's like, okay, well, I just don't feel good having a conversation about nobody if they're not over here. You know what I'm saying? She says, well, then you could call her over. You want to call her over? Why they call Julz over there? Why did they call Julz over there, girl? They call Julz over there. Julz get over there. When she gets over there, she speaks to everybody, including Kenea. Kenea's looking at her phone, purposely ignoring her, acting like she doesn't hear the woman. And so Julz says it again. Hi, I'm Julz, or whatever. She looks up and she's like, she took a pause and she's like, oh, hi. Okay. And then she politely scoots over, let Julz have a seat. Right. So once she gets there, it seems like Stormy was tripping over her words. Stormy was really struggling to explain to Julz what they just heard. And I feel like the reason she was struggling to get that out was because she was expecting the person that brought her up and the person to have so much energy about her to be the one to start the conversation. Right. But instead, it gives that she kind of tensed up potentially. Okay. Froze up a little bit and was going to allow somebody else to carry the conversation when you wanted her over there. So you should have addressed it with her. It's your issue. It's your beef. You talk to her about it. Okay. So she wanted somebody else to do it. Of course, MJ and Stormy is struggling. So Stormy's best friend just said, hey, she called you a racist. Okay. And then Stoney's like, I'm not Stormy, but Julz is like, wait, I'm a racist? I'm a racist? How am I a racist? And then the girl says, well, I didn't say that you were a racist, but if you want to say it, then maybe you are. I do not agree with that. I do not support that. I'm not rocking with that. If y'all do, congratulations, not me. Okay, you called this woman over there. You wanted to get into some things. So BITCH, get into them things. And if I was Stormy, I would have sat there and not said anything. But I'm sure because Stormy is recognizing that we're filming, she's trying to move this along. But it definitely would have been all quiet on the Western Front for me. Okay, so you need to open up your mouth because you had a lot to say when the girl was not over here. So let's get into some things now. Okay, open up that mouth. All right. So she says, the guy says racist. And see, that's where it also goes wrong because the way that he started it off. And if Kenea would have answered it and just jumped right in there to begin with, I think this conversation could have been had much better, in my opinion. But when you haul off and say, oh, well, she said that you're a racist. I didn't say you're a racist. And then that's where the playing in her face comes just a little bit. How am I a racist? I didn't say you're a racist, but if you're going to say it, then maybe you are. Like, girl, I'm not saying it. I'm like, why are you trying to play? This is what he's telling her. She's asking you, where did this come from? What are you talking about? And then you try to flip it on her. That's the first thing. That's actually the second thing I didn't like. Don't have this big talk, call this girl a white BITCH, say what you're going to say, and then once she gets over there, you don't know how to properly have a conversation. Okay? So now you put her in a position to be on the defense. Okay. On top of when she came over, she's already feeling like, what the hell is going on? Like something happened. Like, is there some news? Is something about my baby daddy? Do they know what I did today? What is going on? Right. And then boom, you hit her left field racist. What the hell? I said, what? And then you play in her face. So anywho, Julz, like I said, Julz greeted her, all of that. The girl said, I never said that you're a racist or whatever. Then when she says that I never said you're a racist, but maybe you are, she gives a look over to Stony as if she's seeking Stony to help her. That's why I feel like Kenea asked MJ earlier on if MJ was a black woman. And MJ says, yes, she's black. Even though y'all tell me, but of course MJ identifies as black. She is Afro-Latina from my understanding. Same thing as Kenea. Kenea is also Afro-Latina. I guess they both, they identify as black or whatever the case is. And I feel like the reason she asked MJ this, like, what are you? Because I think she was searching to get people on her side. So that when I think she was searching to get not so much as people on her side, but she assumed that everybody felt the same way that she felt. So bringing this girl over there, I feel like she thought she wasn't going to be the only one checking her. She assumed everybody else felt the same way as she did when they didn't. They chilling. They like, I don't really want to have this conversation. She cool with me. I don't have an issue with her. But you're asking, are you black? Well, I feel like as black women, like you're feeling like you're trying to group everybody don't feel the same way as you. Okay. And the gag is they actually know more of her than you do. But okay. So anywho, MJ says no. Okay. She said, MJ says, no, that's not what she said. She didn't say racist. She just said you're a culture vulture. Right. So then Kenea says, she asked Julz, what do you think a culture vulture is? And Julz takes over the conversation. Right. Instead of you making her answer what she believes a culture vulture is, she flipped it on you and said, well, let me ask you this. What do you do for your culture? Okay. Child, this was a mess of a scene, I'm telling you. So Kenea answers and she's like, I do a lot for my community or whatever the case is. I serve my community. I do real estate. So Julz says, okay, so you make money off of homes. That's not serving the community, actually. Okay. That's not really serving the community. All right. And Kenea says, well, what do you make money off of? And I guess Kenea thought she was going to say, I make money off of black people or something. But Julz, I feel like Julz was handling her in this conversation for real when she took over it. The moment she took over it, I feel like Julz was handling her with that mouth. Julz says, she says, I make money off of building brands. Okay. She says, putting people in place to launch their careers, putting people in position to make money. All right. That is what I do. And Julz says, I know you don't really know me well. And this is, and clearly because this is our first time meeting, but I feel like Julz was actually going to take that moment to just give her more, education about herself and possibly even address the narrative that was out there about her. But Miss Kenea, before she could really finish, all right, when Julz says, I know you don't really know me, and clearly because this is our first time meeting, old girl says, I don't even really want to know you. Okay then, bitch. Okay, ho. You must want to know me. You called me over here, bitch. So let's get into it then. So Julz says, that's cool, but you're talking like I'm a culture vulture. And if you're going to talk about the culture, then let's talk about what you do. Child, that is a bit messy. Now, if you ask me, I really don't think it matters what either of you women do for the culture, considering the fact that you're both benefiting from it. Okay, so you're both making money from it, regardless of what the case is. All right. For Kenea to say, I'm in real estate and I help people get into homes. Yeah, but you help a lot of different people. It's not like you specifically built your realty company or something to just help only, black individuals or whatever the case is. Like, girl, no. All right. And a lot of the quote unquote community that you're talking about and the culture can't even afford the homes that you're out here selling to make a profit for. Okay. But anywho, so Kenea says that she's speaking facts, okay? When Julz is like, you call me a culture vulture, and she's like, girl, I'm speaking facts. And then she says, She says, I do X, Y, and Z for my culture. I'm in real estate. It's like you're still saying you serve the community, you do for the culture, but you don't really list what you do. You just said that you in real estate. Okay. But again, like I said, I don't really feel like what y'all do for the culture fully matters to me. Okay. But anywho, Julz says BITCH. That has nothing to do with the culture. Okay. Stop mentioning that. I don't disagree with Julz. I don't feel like that has anything to do with the culture. It definitely came off as one of the biggest accomplishments of Kenea's, which is why she wanted to continue to mention that she's in real estate. But talk about how you started a community. Let's dive into that part. But anywho, I also feel like, who the hell are you, Julz, for her to have to prove that to at the same time? Like who are you for her to have to prove to you what she does do for the culture or whatever the case is? She ain't got to prove that to you. In my opinion, I don't feel like it all really matters. All right. So anywho, Kenea, who really is losing the argument in my personal, she says, B-I-T, bitch. Like, what? She's like, wait. Okay. And she wanted to focus on that part just a bit. But then she goes on to say, aren't you the same bitch? All right. She says that wanted to wear a shirt that said niggas lie or whatever the case was. Now, I will say this. I'll just keep going. Don't worry about it. So, anywho, Kenea asked her about that shirt. All right. Julz says that she wasn't going to wear the shirt or whatever. And I'm like, well, Julz, baby, you should have never posted that on your page. All right. The reason, like, why would you even ask about it? Would it be okay if I wear this shirt or not? Like, girl, you already know the answer to it. It was giving seeking attention. That's what it was giving. It was giving you being in marketing, you understanding how algorithms work so early on, and you knowing that if you got a bunch of hits and this and that, like, you knew what you were doing when you posted that. You wanted to get attention. You wanted to get hits, clicks, and whatever else on that particular post is what I think. It's giving a little bit of rage baiting before people start calling it rage baiting. All right. That's what I was thinking. So, all you had to say, in my opinion, was that to Julz, I'm sorry, Julz, all you had to say to Kenea was like, listen, don't believe everything that you hear, half of what you see, whatever the case is. Yeah, I may have made that post, but I've also apologized for it. I've done this, I've done that, whatever the case. And at this point, I'm done proving myself to people. If you don't like me, that's fine. You don't have to like me. You don't even know me. So the fact that you don't know me and don't like me, it's not going to make or break my day. I promise you it's not. You're allowed to continue to think whatever it is that you want to think about me. Meanwhile, I won't be thinking about you at all. And you could have went on about your business, right? But it didn't happen that way. So, of course, they get loud with each other. When Julz kind of gets loud, after, playing in this lady's face, Kenea wants to say, calm down. I'm like, girl, that's one of the worst things you can tell any person, okay? In the middle of going back and forth, talk about some calm down. I'm like, girl, that's only going to turn them up even more. So, Kenea tells her that, you're around a lot of black women. Stoney's black. MJ's black. And it's like... And these black women brought her on the show. Allowed her to be in their spaces. Okay? That is on them. You do not have to. For me, Kenea just did too much. And y'all can feel however you choose to. You do not have to like Julz. I'm not saying I'm a fan of hers nor her actions in the past. However, for me, Kenea, you did too much. And baby, I feel like you couldn't even back up yourself. Like you really couldn't even, shut up in my bones is what it was giving. Just a little bit. Right? It was giving froze up just a little bit. You were losing it. So Julz tells her, when she's talking, she says, lower your tone. Okay? I know that's right. Like, how you feel trying to tell me to calm down. Let me tell you to lower your tone. And then you did too much, Kenea, putting your finger in that lady's face. Talking about I'm not finna tone down anything. I'm not gonna tone down anything, bitch. I would have hit the fuck out your hand and slapped the fuck out you in your face. Okay? We really would have been rolling in there for sure. Rolling, doo-doo, rolling, doo-doo, rolling in the restaurant. Rolling, doo-doo, rolling, doo. Girl, we would have been rolling. You understand? We definitely would have been. Don't put your hand in my face. Okay? I have come over here. I have sat down. Even despite what my past may be, I have not disrespected you, ma'am. I walked into the disrespect. If you ask me, I would have much rather been sitting over there squirming with the rest of the ladies being asked about damn birth or whatever the case is, than coming over here being called out of my name and ain't no telling what else you want to put out there. All right? So, girl, go away from me with this. Anywho, so when she did that, Julz smacked her hand on her face, like, girl, get your hand on my face. All right. And then one thing led to another. They got into some fighting. Julz got tagged quite a few times by Kenea. But what was interesting was Julz standing on the couch and she's saying something like, yeah, she said something like, what did she say? Yeah, and my hair is real or something like that. So I'm like, okay, oh, girl was pulling your hair and you must have started pulling her hair back and maybe some of her tracks or something may have fallen out. Is that what it was? Or did she have like a wig on or something and it fell off? I don't know. But we see her and MJ get into it. Next thing you know, MJ is not MJ, I'm sorry, but Julz is standing up. So I'm not sure, but if you let Andre tell it, when he was talking to Porsha, he said they were rolling all on the ground and stuff. So the fight definitely appeared to have gone on much longer than the clip of what we saw on the show. All right. So anywho, I felt like I was with Julz on this one, not really rocking with Kenea and how she approached that situation. And it made me question how old she is. I mean, at this point, she is about 30 years old. So I would expect her to just behave much differently than what she did. If you have an issue with someone, and again, this may be her first time on television, not really knowing how to handle it, but you were so confident to call her a white bitch, and when the white bitch came over there, you kind of like, to me, tensed up a bit. Instead of like, it was just the fact that you didn't even want to speak up on what you brought up to everybody else. And all you had to do was say, hey, don't know you. My name is such and such, just wanted to call you over because I have been hearing things about you and just wanted, I finally am in your presence, whatever the case is, want to talk to you, want to know what was that all about. I just feel like there's a way that conversation could have been handled. And because you allow somebody else to lead that conversation and put, words in your mouth in so many words, and then it being cleared up by MJ, and then y'all haven't, like, it just didn't have to go the way that it went. Okay, so I definitely understood a bit of why Julz was on the defense, but the whole conversation of asking her about what do you do for the culture, I don't really feel like that was relevant to the conversation. In all honesty, I guess she just didn't like being called a culture vulture, and with you being called a culture vulture, like, what does that have to do with, like, what does what she do for the culture have to do with you being called a culture vulture? You know what I'm saying? So I think she could have said something else. All right. And I think that also Julz identifies, how she puts money in some of these black celebrities' pockets as her doing more for the culture than this young woman that may do real estate or whatever the case. But what else are you out there doing, Julz? Okay, what else? Y'all both, when she said, oh, you make money from doing whatever, this, y'all both do. So what else is going on? Okay, so anywho, I'm still on her side with this because I don't like how the situation was overall handled by Kenea, who is the one that had the initial issue in my personal. All right, so let's get to Charelle, Ashley, and Alexis, who link up at a later time to discuss the whole aftermath of this fight. And Charelle says that Julz hit her up about not reaching out to her and, checking up on her. And then she also told Porsha, this is Julz talking to Porsha, telling her that Sharelle is such a horrible person for not checking up on her. And Ashley says, why would anyone check on you when you were the one that started the fight? And I was like, Ashley, if you don't shut the fuck up, girl, because you were not over there to know how it got started. Okay? You weren't. So Alexis says, oh, it's giving deflection. Oh, she's deflecting. And Sharelle says that Julz was mad at her because she was over there liking Kenea's photos shortly after they ended up having a fight. So she felt like, Sharelle may have chosen the side, which was the side of Kenea. So she felt the way about it. All right. And the ladies just feel like Julz was taking account. Julz was playing victim in this entire situation. Sharelle says that she should have, been on Julz as harder than she was on Stoney's. Okay, she says that because Julz took absolutely no accountability. Now, I do feel like there was enough accountability to go around. So for Julz to not take any, I don't think that was fully right. Now, keep in mind, I don't think Julz was wrong in my opinion. However, I think accountability could have looked like, you know what? I could have just said, I'm good. I could have walked off. I even gave an example earlier of how I felt she could have handled the conversation and then just got up and left. at the end of the day. Okay. But maybe she wasn't expecting it to go that far. Maybe she was just having a back and forth and she wasn't expecting the girl to put her hand in her face, and then one thing led to another and then here we are, whatever. But ultimately, Kenea girl, this on you, boo. Okay. Let's keep going. So the ladies didn't like Julz wearing braids. They flashed back to that time, and I guess they tried to talk to her about it and feeling like she shouldn't be wearing braids based on how people perceive her as a culture vulture and all of this other stuff. And Sharelle says, listen, it's not my job to teach this woman about cultural sensitivity. Y'all can let somebody else do it. Let Sharelle tell it. It's not her job to do any of that. It's not her job to teach you ladies anything aside from real estate and make money off y'all. That is her only job, which is to profit off of you, just because that is primarily the way that she benefits from you. Okay. So Ashley says that giving her that they've been giving her a lot of grace, and there is a reason why there are negative stories out there about Miss Julz in the blogs, and she says that's because that's who that lady is. That's who she is. Like, she's not getting negative press for no reason. Like, that's who you are. So, girl, Ashley is not letting up on her at all. And Alexis says, listen, at my big age, honey, I don't even know how to fight. She says, so I'm not about to fight anybody. She says, I have things that I could lose, and it's just not worth it for me. Like, I'm just not going to be into all of that. All right. And basically what I'm hearing is that you have more self-control over yourself than Julz. And Julz has to work on that. Okay. And Miss Kenea does too. All right. Because what's interesting is you guys are putting a lot on Julz and saying that she's not accepting accountability when she wasn't the only one fighting. So regardless of who started the fight, then they both were fighting. And I'm not hearing you guys saying that, oh, we talked to Kenea afterwards and she took a lot of accountability for what she did. She said she's sorry. We didn't hear y'all say that either. Okay. But all right. So, yes, we get to Porsha and Andre as they're riding in the car. And what we learned is that Porsha was told that Julz hit Kenea first. Right? That's what she was told. Julz hit her first. And I was like, when did Julz hit her first? And I thought about it and I said, oh, she smacked her hands. I guess that was a hit first, right? But it wasn't all on her. Okay. And Porsha, says that she tries to, in my opinion, she talks about the situation and how bad it looks and how it looks bad on all of us Black women and stuff, right? And for me, I don't really like being grouped up like that, because with this particular situation, BITCH, this was an example on the ladies that were fighting. What Kenea and what Julz chose to do has absolutely nothing to do with me or any other woman. Okay? I am not looking at y'all for the actions of them. I'm looking at you guys for the actions of yourselves and how you guys choose to show up. So whatever you're talking about, miss me with it. In addition to that, however the white people or people outside of the culture, the non-Black folks, whatever the case is, however they going to see us, that's how they going to see us. And that's how they've been seeing us. And it's not too much that we can do to change that. So I'm not living to change the shit. Okay? Whatever you think you're right, because you're going to think it anyway. Okay? But don't do that. Okay, I see what you was trying to say, but I'm not going to put that on me. Okay, now if you want to say that may be a reflection of you and how people may see you, that's on you. Okay, I'm not even putting that on you. That's on Kenea and Julz. Hello? Let's keep going. Porsha says that Julz took absolutely no accountability. And I feel like that's the biggest issue, okay? I feel like there was a bit of accountability, like I said, that could go around. So Julz could have taken a little piece of something, right? But anywho, so Julz and Sadé, they do link up, and Julz updates Sadé on the before and the during the dinner or whatever. What we learned is that she ended up getting pregnant by her ex. In episode 2, she sat down with Sadé and said she needs a plan B. I guess she didn't get it in time because she ended up being pregnant by her ex, and she was about 6 weeks, and that's also the cutoff time for her to get an abortion. All right. Now, she says that she did have that conversation with Sharelle. And one of the challenges that she faced with this pregnancy was that, of course, she wants to be a mom to another baby and would want it to be by the same dad, but he doesn't want any more kids. Right. Which is crazy because I feel like they'll go on and tell you they don't want any more kids and then go and father another child with someone else. Yikes. Right. I think Julz needs to completely cut him off and let him go. and just move on and accept whoever he is going to be to your daughter. And whether he shows up or does not show up, that is on him. And that is always a reflection of him. Okay. But you need to not let that man get in between anymore. All right. She talks about her having an abortion or whatnot, talking to Sharelle about it, being on the phone with her and everything, only for them to get to the restaurant and for Sharelle to act clueless or whatever the case was. And Sharelle asked, because even when Sharelle was sitting with the girls, they asked her, like, why would she say this or that? Why would Julz say this or that about you and all of that for not checking on her? And of course, Sharelle says that she doesn't know. Okay. So anywho, she said that she talked to Sharelle act clueless or whatever. Julz says that Sharelle knew, and when she talked to her, she, and told her that, right? Sharelle says she forgot about that. Like, oh, I forgot about that. Either you're so wrapped up in yourself and you're at that self-centered that you don't remember that type of conversation, or it shows Julz just how non-important Julz is to you. And that's a lesson more so for Julz, okay? That you're not that important for her to remember this significant conversation. But here's the other layer to it. I feel like Sharelle was highly aware of it, in my opinion. I do believe that she remembered, and I feel like Sharelle used that moment to bring it up in hopes that Julz will talk more about it on camera. I feel like Sharelle has been in a space the first 3 episodes of producing. Okay, trying to turn something and get something out in the show, okay, because she's done this before, so I feel like she knows what she's doing a bit. And of course, Sadé kind of goes on and says that about Sharelle just a little bit, all right. So Julz ends up calling her a cunt. Now, at first, I thought she called her a nigga. Okay, but no, it ended up being cunt because I was watching it the first time on a faster speed, and then I went back and watched it, and she said cunt. All right, but yeah, so Sadé says that she doesn't think that Julz is a culture vulture. She says that to know her is to love her. She says she's never gotten those type of vibes from Julz. Of course, she's a passionate person, so you do something, she's probably gonna pop off on you. But aside from that, she hasn't experienced that. And honestly, what Sadé is saying isn't much different than what Stoney and MJ have said about her either. So I really don't know. I don't know if Julz may have learned her lesson from the past or what the case is. I don't know. Okay, but I'm gonna judge her based on the different situations and scenarios that I see her in. Okay. What else? So Sadé says that Sharelle is messy and she moves a certain way to make herself look good. And I honestly thought she was going to say, Sharelle is messy and she does what she needs to do for this show. But of course, she didn't want to say that. So she does what she needs to do to make herself look good, I suppose. So there's that. All right. Leave your thoughts and comments down below on the episode. And let's touch on the Humble Baddies podcast real quick. So Sharelle mentions that she still questions whether Julz actually had an abortion. That for me is messy as fuck to put that out there. Now, this is the reason why Sharelle says that. Sharelle says that she learned that Julz had an abortion by way of a pill. And once she researched the pill, Sharelle learned that with this pill, you're going to bleed a lot, right? So how is it that you're bleeding a lot and then you turn around the next day and you're in a 2-piece thong? Then Ashley highlights the fact that she wrote that Julz wrote Kenea looking for her because she wanted to fight her some more. It's giving misplacement of anger. It's giving more so frustrated about her situation, and the person you really want to pounce on is that baby daddy, but you can't get to him, so you want to spew it out on the person that brought the anger up out of you, which was Kenea. Okay, but I don't know. I don't know. I have not taken no pill to know how much or how less a person bleeds. And what I will say is I think everybody's body is made up differently. Okay. According to Julz, she had the procedure that day. So I don't know if she had on a tampon or something that was catching it. I'm not sure how that works. Not necessarily sure how that works, but you guys can leave your thoughts and stuff down below because Sharelle is still questioning whether or not that is true. Okay. So Sharelle says that she also says she didn't like the fact that what's her name? Julz stood up on the chairs and said that, and my hair is real. At least my hair is real. or something. I'm like, she didn't really say at least my hair is real, like taking a dig at her. At least I didn't take it like that. It sounded like she said, and yes, my hair is real. Like the girl was pulling on her hair like she was finna snatch off some clip-ins or whatever the case was. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was a dig. You guys let me know how you saw it, right? But that's that. Was there anything else? Okay. The last thing that I wanted to note that's related to the episode from the Humble Baddies podcast was the fact that Ashley says that she does see things differently now after watching how everything played out. Because when she first learned that Julz hit Kenea, she was thinking that she hit her in the face. She didn't know that she smacked her hand. And all of the ladies could pretty much agree that they would smack somebody else's hand if they put it in their face like that. Okay. But you guys leave your thoughts and comments down below. It's time for you guys to share your thoughts and how you felt about episode 3 of Wags to Riches. All right. I'm Jami. That's me. That's all that I have for you guys at this time. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos. You can follow me on Instagram as well as Twitter at JamiThatsMe. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Tell him I preach to the choir. Stand with my feet to the fire. Give all the glory to God. Stand in the midst of these haters, I'm silent, nobody can stop me. Just gotta check in my notification, them numbers hit like it's a proxy. Cashed out at the ATM, and the ATL, they done made a gym. I've been kicking doors like the ATF, got them trying to clone me like Agent Smith. Game time, I invaded gym, high elevated, I can face the rim. Putting shots up, I got laser focus, about to take it over, I'm Invader Zim. On a trip to Florida like it's A&M. Who that nigga, man, they say I'm him. Spit the truth, never wasting film, I can feel it.